Hi, I'm jewelry designer Wendy Brandes. Welcome to my channel and my crazy shoulder pads. This is YSL by Tom Ford. I got it on eBay, and these are pagoda shoulders, and actually I'm feeling very at home in these. My right-hand woman Erin behind the camera is like, oh, okay, this is for the holiday video, right? I'm like, no, this is regular life. In a recent video, I was giving you some insight into the business world through my experience with my silver collection. I have some more wisdom gleaned from my experience with silver, which is extremely good for entrepreneurs, but also if you're just working in the corporate world, which I did for many years, and you hear about budget and this and that, it'll help you understand those issues. In my first career, I was a journalist, and I didn't get into jewelry until 2005. And for some of you, this might seem like yesterday, and for some of you, it was way into your childhood. In 2008, there was a big economic crash across the globe. People lost a lot of money in the stock market, and even the very wealthy people, the people who were worth like $100 million, they were all of a sudden worth only $80 million, and they felt desperately poor. I'm not kidding. This is a true thing. A lot of regular people, the ones who are not 100 millionaires or billionaires, lost their jobs, period. A lot of industries simply collapsed. They moved overseas because companies were not willing to pay the price for American labor, and neither were consumers, because now they didn't have the jobs that they used to have. At the same time, and not unrelated to what else was going on, the price of gold soared, and that was the material that I worked in. Even before the big stock market crash, gold prices had soared as far as I was concerned. After being below $300 an ounce for many years, it got up to a 26-year high of $732 an ounce. So that's the material I'm working with. If I get an ounce of gold, this is the price difference that I'm paying. It could be $300 or it could be way up to $732. I thought all those prices were bad, but after the stock market crash, gold again doubled from that amount. More than doubled. So now a big chunk of my customer base in 2008, 2009 had lost their jobs, and the material I used to make my pieces was way expensive. So even if they still had their jobs, they wouldn't have been able to afford the product. And that's when all the experts weighed in. Whatever is happening, there are always experts around to tell you that you are doing it wrong. The thing about experts, who are sometimes people in your family, but are often people called consultants, and sometimes it's consultants in your family, they always have a thing to say and they never have to live with it. So the expert opinion was to pivot from gold to silver. For all of us fine jewelers, silver was a lot less expensive, so why not do the same designs in silver? I felt so much pressure to do that, and everybody and their sister and their mother and their brother was doing that, all the smart jewelers. So I tried that, and I have these very elaborate gold pieces. So when I did them in silver, if you refer to my other video when I talk about the cost of labor, I'm doing a lesser material, but my labor costs exactly the same, which means in the end, you end up with a very expensive piece in silver. And people say, it's silver, why is it so expensive? So I quickly said, no, this isn't good. It's too expensive. It's not doing the thing of having people have an accessible price point to buy this jewelry. So I thought, there's all these other things that I want to do in design that don't really work in my gold pieces. And it started with my infamous and much copied square rings in 2008, which I originally did for a fashion designer's runway show. The square rings were very naughty and controversial and eye-catching and statement pieces, and I thought I would love to do more of that. Let me do a whole different kind of design in silver. It's not my aesthetic that I'm trying to become known for, but it's got my messaging of being a sort of badass jewelry wearer and designer. So let me do a different design that makes more sense in silver. So having been a journalist and being very interested in pop culture and breaking news, I went into this whole thing of like doing emojis, doing message jewelry, simpler designs, all in silver, it was great. It was accessible to people. The silver single stud emojis cost $35. That is a great deal compared to my gold pieces. And it just had its own theme. The metal had its own theme, and I even relatively recently divided my entire collection into separate collections of gold, platinum, and silver, each with their own aesthetic. I always felt aware that it was a little bit confusing because all my aesthetics for different metals were so different, that I did feel really excited to do them, and they like really came from me, so they represented parts of me. And I want to wear different things, like, you know, pagoda shoulders. Other people want to wear different things. And I felt comfortable doing it, though I was aware it could be a little bit of a challenge to people, but hey, you get like a fabulous nasty necklace, it's accessible, you get your middle finger emoji earring, and then you get the Empress Wu 18 karat gold dragon ring, and you get everything from me. Now, if you go back to my other video on economies of scale, I told you that would come in useful, you'll find out why doing this thing that the consultants and the experts told me to do did not help me make money, the kind of money you need to stay in business. And same with other jewelers of my size that I know. I was talking to someone very recently who said it was the silver that nearly put me out of business. I barely hung on. So this is the message I want to give to people who are considering going into business for themselves. You're going to get a lot of advice, whether you want it or not, and a lot of times the conventional wisdom is wrong. And not only that, years later when you're feeling that you should go the other way, or maybe you didn't go the other way, you took the advice and you're affected by it, no one's going to come back and say, I was wrong. You know, you're out there on your own, you've invested your money, it's your business, it's your name. Someone gleefully gave you advice, and they are never going to apologize for the situation they put you in. So I just ask people, really, you look at your own situation, look at your finances, think things through. A lot of times you're just going to get swept along with the flow, but there are things that don't work, and just because someone says they're an expert, that does not mean you have to do everything they say. I do have a happy story about me bucking the trend. I didn't go along with everything. The basic conventional wisdom of 2008 was use less gold, which could mean switching to silver, but also just using less metal in any of your pieces. If you're familiar with any of my 18 karat gold pieces, you know that they have an unusual heft. It even surprises people in the jewelry industry all the time. Because to me, luxury is not just about, like, it's big and showy, but you've got to pick it up, and it has to feel like something. It has to feel intense. It has to feel like luxurious and like you paid for something. You paid for that gold. I'm going to give you that gold. A lot of people told me, just, you know, do different kinds of designs. And that was, I have to say, it was in the beginning of the kind of work I'm doing now with the mechanical pieces and the kind of intense figural pieces. And they're like, just do less. Do a big semi-precious stone like an amethyst, just in, you know, 4 little prongs. There are a lot of people doing jewelry like that, and I think a lot of it's very pretty. You can do it very inexpensively overseas. It's always going to be less expensive if you're making jewelry like that doesn't have much of a design element overseas than it is in New York. See my other video. And I just thought, why am I in the business if I'm doing something generic? And I did say I remember talking to one friend who was also in the jewelry business, and I said, you know, I'm not saying I'm known for anything, but like for the 1 or 2 people who know me, I'm kind of known for using a hefty amount of metal, a luxurious amount of metal. And she was like, oh, how many people is that though? And I was like I said, biatch, is not very many people, but it includes me, and it means something to me. And she was saying, you know, go with the other thing, and I just couldn't see how I would sell it. Like, I wouldn't have the passion for it to sell something that I thought was kind of generic. Why am I in the business anyway? Like, let me go back to journalism or another industry. So back in 2008, people thought the amount of metal I used was insane, but as the gold prices continued to rise and everyone cut back, it became crazier and crazier, and people would ask me, even the manufacturers who know me well, they're like, are you sure you want it to be this heavy? Are you sure you want it to be an ounce of gold? And I said, yeah, that's what I'm about. I'm about giving someone something that has this lasting value. It's not just looks, it's everything about it. It's the texture, it's the feel, it's the heft. I'm very satisfied with that decision because I have seen many people go out of business having made that adjustment, and you still don't have a way. Now you don't have the quality to distinguish yourself or the price, because you're never going to be the lowest price, especially if you're manufacturing in America. So there, I listened to the conventional wisdom in one part, I disregarded it in another factor, and I'm happier with my disregarding of the conventional wisdom than when I followed it. If you have any questions about business issues, about consultants, about fads and industry, you can leave them in the comments below. If I can, I will answer them. If I can't answer them, I will honestly tell you that. And subscribe to this channel, because I might have good business advice in the next video, or I might have just crazy shoulder pads. You never know.